So, hey, Tamara is a frequent guest on here because we support CyberPatriot program that she so ably runs in the state of Michigan. She also works with Auto-ISAC. She has multiple hats that she wears. Why don't we start off with describing both of those programs, Tamara?
Sure. So the Cyber Patriot program is a national program for kindergarten through 12th grade. It's a national STEM education program that focuses on cybersecurity. So for the K through 5 folks, the educational things that we supply are video games that teach cybersecurity in a book series that makes cybersecurity heroes out of all of us if we follow those principles. And then when we hit the middle school and the high school kids, that's when it gets real exciting, and they have a competition that runs in the fall, from the fall until the end of the winter, until January and March. March, when the finals happens. And so that's a really exciting thing. We've got that both here in the US, Canada, and Australia all do this virtual cyber competition. And then we have a senior citizens program in that as well, where we are helping that strata of our population get up to speed on what cyber awareness is, and so that they can keep themselves safe. And altogether, that's the program. And like I said, it's a national program. And we here in Michigan have gotten a sort of a separate, we're one of the centers of excellence with the Cyber Patriot program, focusing in on trying to increase the number of folks in the state of Michigan that are involved in this, so that we can get more people more kids into the pipeline to come out cybersecurity heroes.
So you've got programs for older gentlemen like Matt, so they won't get confused online. Is that right? So
Thank you so much.
Yes, isn't that sweet of him? Yeah, I think we could all be considered that strata, unfortunately. But yes, folks like not us, because we obviously are in this, right? We don't want to be talking to our own people, but people who are out there and that don't have that kind of background in cybersecurity to be able to help themselves. Because that the senior citizens are really our most vulnerable segment of society. They're really trying to keep up with things, but they're just not able to. And so it's a real nice program that the Cyber Patriot kids can give back to the senior citizens.
Yeah, that is a great idea, because they're much more immersed in that milieu than a lot of the older folks are. And you read about, at least about older folks being, some of the worst targets of these scams.
They really are. It's very, I mean, it's beyond criminal, right? It's just blows your mind, the things that happen to folks that are just trying to stay connected with their people across the country by using some of these tools and applications and things. But they really don't understand that all of the things that they're putting out there. And they believe that when they get an emergency email from their nephew who's who needs to be bailed out of jail or blah, whatever, right? That it's truly him sending them the email, and that they don't understand that there are bogus things out there. So the really cool part about the Cyber Patriot program is that it's kids reaching to the grandparents. And I know if I tell my mom something, she just says, oh, whatever. And right? You're always trying to, tell me what to do. I'm the parent, you're not the parent, kind of a thing, right? But if the grandkids do it, it's a whole different kind of a thing. And so that's the nice part about working with these kids, is that they can do those kinds of things. And then, of course, while they're teaching those senior citizens, they're learning as well, right? Just like all of our mentors that are involved in this program, that are helping me, that are out in cybersecurity land, and they're doing all the things that they can do for corporate America. If they become mentors for the cybersecurity program, everyone gets helped. So we get more kids that are inspired. They find out about some cultures that are out there in the different corporate structures as far as cyber. And they also they learn a little bit when they're teaching the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my sister bid on one of those bank scams, and I happened to be with her over Thanksgiving, so she asked me about that. And I said, number one, change everything and go to your bank first thing in the morning and tell them what happened. Because apparently she's with the credit union, Lake Michigan Credit Union. And apparently the bank was already getting inundated with people who had said, oh my God, what did I do? Kind of thing. So yeah, it really is education.
Yeah, I mean, and that's all it's about. I mean, that's the most important piece. So I think it's funny. I'm working on you asked about the ISAC piece as well. And so I'm working with Auto-ISAC, and we're putting together with a cooperative agreement with NHTSA, which is our regulator. We are putting together an education and training the workforce project, and we're in year one, just finished up year one. And I am surprised that even in my own network of people and membership, how many of those folks are even aware of my program. So, you know, it's funny how every day I'll get something from someone saying, I didn't even know you had a program. And we think that we're giving people a lot of awareness and a lot of, you know, education on this stuff. But we, you know, you're always just scratching the surface whenever you're doing these kinds of things. So it's something that has to happen all the time on a constant basis, and kind of with a different language and a different way of doing it, so people listen, right? But you know, it's something that is never going to go away, right? Because the bad guys are always changing their tactics and the way that they come at us, and so we always have to kind of be vigilant and you know, keep that voice coming about letting everybody know the message.
So getting back to CyberPatriot, how many teams does Michigan have playing this year?
Michigan has only and I say only, and I don't mean that in any negative way. We have 142. I feel the only comes out because prior to COVID, we had 182, and we had been doubling our number every year that we were involved in it. And so I was kind of excited with all that build, but I'm also, you know, very aware of working with the teachers across the state, how difficult this is. In fact, it's a countrywide, I'm sure it's all of the countries that are involved. It's a problem. So even the amount of students that were going against nationally, back in 2020, it was over 6,000 different teams that were playing, whereas now we're just over 4,000 teams playing nationally. So it's everyone got hit with this, and that's because of the whole going virtual and, you know, all of the lost education that's kind of happened. And so things have slowed down a tiny bit on the growth. But you know, we're ever vigilant. We're going to keep it up, and we're going to keep trying to build and keep trying to get the word out, which is why you guys are so wonderful and have me on the show to talk about it.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about what the season looks like this year. What is the nature of the quote unquote game that they're playing?
So the game that they play is, I always sort of liken it to when you open up the box on a brand new computer and you say, okay, I'm going to start, you know, surfing the internet with this thing. You know, what are the things that you should have done to protect that brand new PC or laptop that you've got in order to keep yourself safe on the internet? That's one way of looking at it. The other way is that, you know, the game graduates and gets more and more complicated. And as it does, you're adding you know, networks and systems and vulnerabilities and current threats that are coming in, and you have to defend against them. So this is all a defense thing. It's all about looking for vulnerabilities and threats and protecting yourself from this. They work in two operating systems. They work both in the Microsoft operating system, and they work in the Linux operating system. And then, like I said, they do come in with some Cisco networking stuff as well to learn how to protect all of themselves from any of these things. And so, you know, they'd be really good to get into small businesses and help people learn how to, you know, protect themselves after they've gone through this program. But then they have a rounds, and so the rounds start in October. We've already been through round 1 in October, round 2 in November. Then in December, it goes into the state championship. And so that's that third round, and basically we get a standing in the state where we're at after the end of that. That's on the 9th and the 11th. So we also, the wonderful thing, it's virtual, it's low cost to get involved in the game. And we have these rounds during the different months. And then the only time that we go head to head, we go through the state round, then we have our semifinal rounds, and then the national round, which is in March. And that's the only time they're in person. And but it doesn't cost anymore. So your registration covered your cost. You get flown in and you get put up in a hotel for the top 28 teams across the country that are then going to go head to head to fight it out there at the end. And so it's a real good, and then you have all of those lovely folks that have been supporting that come in, and they're paying attention to who wins and who loses and who's really good at it, because now they can actually observe them doing the work. And so it's pretty cool, inspirational kind of thing to get folks going and get people into this career track.
Yeah.
And certainly we know from past times you've been on the show that you're looking for more mentors for these kids, and you're looking for more schools to participate, and certainly looking for more sponsors to step up and fund these programs, right?
Absolutely. So Michigan here, like I said, we're making a really concentrated effort to grow more in Michigan and bring about more change as far as getting more people into the pipeline. And part of that is getting more mentors, right? So we want them to have that feeling of what it really feels like a day in the life of these mentors, and then have them come in and help the teachers be able to do the cybersecurity components of the course or of the competition. We also need to have people who were willing to donate money on top of that as well, because in the summertime is the only time that we do summer camps, and those things cost money to run. And that's a really, really good way of getting people exposed to this in a camp-like setting. We normally, those camps are usually week-long. We need some support in that as well. But mainly we want to get the word out, right? And so we want everybody to be little, emissaries for our cause here in CyberPatriot. And you can find out all that kind of information and all that, how to get involved at MICyberPatriot.com, our website.
So I'd like to talk with you with your other hat on at the moment. Auto-ISAC was an organization founded, I believe, in 2014, where the automakers decided to get together and talk about cybersecurity in automobiles in the industry. So what's happening with Auto-ISAC education and training these days?
So I'm pretty excited. So like I said, we're on a 2-year contract with NHTSA, or a cooperative agreement with NHTSA, to put together a training program. And that training program is for new hires, interns, and folks that are transitioning into cyber, and it's sort of helped that workforce get up to speed. We've just finished 2 pilots. We've trained, let's see, what's my number? We've trained 224 trainees to go through those 2 pilots. And we're now coming on where I'm going to be putting together our what we're calling a CapEx, which is actually our capability exercise. It's a scenario. It's going to be a virtual kind of scenario, because we've had folks from all over the globe come in and take these courses. And so it will be a virtual scenario type test to test their capabilities in all the areas that they've learned, so that they can then have our brand new, right out of the, I'm going to jump the gun and talk about our new certification. And so that certification is called CASE. So it's our certified automotive cybersecurity engineer. And so in order to qualify for that, if you're a beginner and you've never done this before, you have to go through both our fundamentals and our advanced classes. If you're an intermediate and you have some experience, it's wise for you to go through our advanced courses to prepare for the test. But if you're an expert in this and you already could be training people and you've been doing it for years and years, and you already are a cybersecurity engineer, you can simply take this test and become qualified as a CASE certified automotive cybersecurity engineer. And that's something that they, NHTSA really, really wanted us to do. It's very important for each workforce to have sort of that minimum standard of what you consider important in the field. And that you've got that. People who do my hair have to be licensed. They have to have a certificate saying they know what they're doing. And we don't necessarily have that in our space for cybersecurity. And so it's really nice to be involved in something that the auto industry has done for themselves, and have taken a really big part in forming it for themselves before we get into any kind of regulating or any kind of legislation on that. So yeah. I'm pretty happy about being involved in this.
Yeah, people forget that all these gadgets and things that in their cars that are hooked up to some data center, internet, whatever, are very hackable. And so I know from my days in covering manufacturing, the engineers were always designing stuff the manufacturing people couldn't make because they just didn't think it all the way through. And so it's good that this is happening, because gosh, talk about the Bill Gates computer on 4 wheels. He said that 20 years ago, and it's certainly come to pass, hasn't it?
Yeah, it truly is. I mean, and it's some kind of supercomputer that we're driving for sure. I mean, and then let's not even talk about our EV interactions and now our autonomous interactions, and the fact that this industry has put forth and is doing it on their own, with them behind it, trying to make sure that it's totally customized to what they need in the industry is pretty exciting work. We've been hearing back from a couple of the other infrastructures like oil and gas and that, and they want to see kind of some lessons learned from us as far as how we've implemented this. And so this is going to branch out into some other areas that folks are going to, in other infrastructures, to protect those infrastructures as well. Sort of how we did this and how we're going to continue. We also have university partners that we're bringing into this as well to make sure that more universities are getting an idea of what this industry needs. So I think it's going to help manufacturing across the board as well.
Yeah, I've already seen a couple of pretty good science fiction stories with the plot where somebody takes control of somebody's autonomous vehicle and does something bad to them. So definitely want to avoid that.
Yeah, don't you just love it? So how much of our innovation comes from sci-fi, right?
Yeah,
so
it really does.
We have to be very careful and vigilant, right?
We have everything but the transporter and warp drive, I'm pretty sure. So yeah.
I really am looking forward to that. Beam me up, Scotty, because I love to travel. I don't necessarily like to be on the road. I mean, I like to be in my car, let's be honest about that, but not necessarily in the clutches of the transportation industry.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And so how do people find out more, once again, about both of these programs?
So our program, by the way, the training program is now that it's going to be going to STEM, and it is opened up to everybody. So you can go to our website. So it's AutomotiveISAC.com and find out more about that. If you are already a professional, an auto cybersecurity professional, let us know. I mean, let me know. So you can send me an email and I'll throw that up in the chat. If you'd like more information about that. So, and I'll throw both in the chat, both of the URLs, so everybody has them.